Hey there, just a heads up, this episode of the Judo Science Podcast was created with help from AI. Some of the voices you'll hear are synthetic, but the ideas come from real research and real judo.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Today we're plunging into the fascinating world of judo, specifically what it really takes to train for and then actually execute peak performance in what's just an incredibly dynamic sport. Our mission: to unpack the cardio demands, the art of tapering, and that subtle dance of pacing and decision-making during those high-stakes competitions. And we're drawing on insights from an experienced judo coach and two pretty detailed scientific studies.
Yeah, and what's really compelling here, I think, is how these principles, optimizing performance under pressure, managing energy, how they can apply way beyond the judo mat. I mean, think about any challenge you face that demands intense, sort of intermittent effort and then smart recovery. The lessons from judo are surprisingly universal, really.
Okay, so let's dive right in then. It isn't just about brute strength or pure speed, is it? It's more like a constantly shifting balance, demanding a blend of, aerobic and anaerobic fitness. It hits all the energy systems. Why is that blend so critical in judo, maybe unlike, say, running a marathon?
That's a crucial point. The reason really lies in the unpredictable nature of your opponent. You might be facing someone who's just relentless, constant motion trying to grind you down aerobically.
Right.
That's where your aerobic fitness has to shine. But then maybe your next opponent is all about explosive power, forcing you into these repeated high-intensity bursts, which, drains your anaerobia system fast. You just have to be ready for anything.
And the competition structure just magnifies that, doesn't it? I mean, imagine fighting up to 5, maybe even 7 times in a single day, like Jimmy Pedro did at the 2004 Olympics. That's not just about being fit enough for one tough fight. It's being able to recover and perform again and again and again. So physical fitness is obviously non-negotiable, but that recovery between bouts, that becomes the real tactical weapon, yeah.
Exactly. Which brings up a key challenge, How do you actually prepare for a sport where you might be grappling intensely for, say, 30 seconds? Then you have maybe 8-10 seconds off while you're reset. Yep. Then you're straight back into a 20-second explosive exchange, followed by another short break. It's not continuous like running. It's very stop-start, very bursty, and totally unpredictable.
Right. So if that's the unique challenge, what kind of cardio training really gives judo players the edge? Beyond just, general fitness, our sources seem to strongly point towards high-intensity interval training, HIIT. But it's more than just a fitness trend, isn't it? There's real science behind it for judo.
Oh, absolutely. HIIT isn't just about varying intensity, like going a bit faster than a bit slower. It's about pushing to maximal, like 100% effort in short, explosive bursts, and then strategically recovering. This directly mirrors that high-octane, stop-start nature of a judo match. It makes the training incredibly specific. And the real game changer here isn't just getting fit. It's building a physiological engine that lets you explode and recover faster than your opponent can, bout after bout. That's the tactical advantage HIIT provides, especially in a long tournament day.
And the benefits listed are, well, pretty impressive. We're talking a significant increase in maximum heart rate, which then leads to a lower resting heart rate. Vastly improved recovery between those work intervals. A boost in metabolism after you exercise. Increased fat burn while actually maintaining muscle mass. Plus, better overall cardio output and, crucially, a delay in lactic acid onset. That means you can push harder for longer before that burn kicks in.
Yeah, and beyond those immediate physiological gains, what's also quite remarkable is that HIIT contributes to increased bone density, especially if you combine it with plyometrics, those jumping exercises.
Ah, okay.
You also tend to see better muscle tone, and this is vital for judo, improved coordination, reaction time, and overall awareness, all critical for reacting instantly to what your opponent does.
Makes sense. Now, when it comes to the actual tools for HIIT, machines are often the easiest to control intensity on. And among them, the rowing machine really seems to stand out for judo players, according to the sources. Why the rower specifically?
Well, the rower is ideal for a couple of really compelling reasons. Firstly, it's a genuine full-body workout. It engages your legs, your core, your upper body all at once, unlike, say, a stationary bike, which is mostly legs.
Right.
Secondly, and this is critical for judo, the main action is a powerful pulling motion. This translates directly to the mat. It trains your back and arm muscles to efficiently pull an opponent off balance, which is exactly what you need to set up a successful throw.
Okay, so pulling power.
Hmm.
And our sources break down interval training itself into three sort of clear categories. You've got long intervals. These are typically 2 to 5 minutes long. They primarily boost aerobic fitness, good for general conditioning, maybe off season, but not what you'd focus on right before a competition. Yeah.
Exactly, not for tapering. Then you have medium intervals. These range from about 30 seconds up to maybe 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. These really target your anaerobic system powerfully. They're fantastic for improving your ability to buffer lactic acid, deal with that muscle burn during intense effort. And these are crucial for competition tapering. But because they're so intense, they demand longer rest periods between efforts.
Got it. And the last one?
Short intervals, we're talking 5 to 30 seconds max. These are all about hitting your phosphocreatine system. That's for immediate explosive power. Think pure speed and snap. These are best used maybe a week before a competition just to really sharpen that explosiveness.
Okay, so different tools for different phases. And one coach actually shared their personal HIIT routine for their judokas. They do 1 minute of maximal effort, then 1 minute of active rest, aiming for about 94% max heart rate during the on minute. And then recovering down to maybe 78, 82% before hitting it again. They do this for 30, 35 minutes on non-judo days and a shorter, sharper 15 minutes on days. They also practice judo, probably to avoid overtraining.
Yeah, that sounds like a solid, practical application of those medium intervals.
Right, so training hard year-round builds the foundation. But when a competition is actually on the horizon, it's time to get strategic about tapering. What's the core idea behind this pre-competition phase? Why back off?
Well, the central principle of tapering is really about getting your body primed for peak performance without burning it out right before you need it most. Basic strength and conditioning wisdom tells us you need to shift gears. You move towards shorter, sharper exercises, but with longer rest times leading up to competition day. The goal is to train your muscles for those fast, intense bursts needed in a match, but then, and this is key, allow for full recovery between those efforts and between sessions. You're essentially trying to sharpen the blade, not grind it down.
Sharpen the blade. I like that. That makes perfect sense. Can you give us some concrete examples of tapering exercises that really embody this shorter, sharper principle?
Certainly. So, back on the rowing machine, you could do, say, 500-meter sprints. For most athletes, that's around 1 minute 35 seconds, give or take. You do that at maximal effort, followed by a good 3 minutes of full rest. Repeat that maybe 6 to 10 times. This fits right into that medium interval category we discussed. You might do this session about 3 days a week, starting maybe 2 or 3 weeks out from the competition.
Okay.
And for sprinting, actual running, the key advice was to do it on a flat surface or even slightly downhill.
Downhill. That's interesting. I always thought uphill built more power. Why flat or downhill for tapering?
Right. Uphill sprinting is great for building raw strength, absolutely. But it can make your muscles feel a bit slow and heavy. It's primarily a concentric, relatively slower movement pattern. For tapering, though, you want explosiveness, speed, snap. Downhill sprinting, on the other hand, is an eccentric movement. The theory is, by running faster than your usual maximum pace.
Because gravity's helping.
Exactly. You train your muscles, your nervous system really, to fire more quickly, to be more explosive. You're literally making them quicker for those dynamic actions like judo throws. David Douillet, who won Olympic gold in 2000, famously used only downhill sprinting in his cardio regime for precisely this reason.
Wow.
The only catch is, downhill sprinting puts a different kind of load on the muscles, that eccentric load, so it requires longer recovery times afterwards.
Fascinating. So it's about training the speed of muscle contraction, not just the force. And applying this directly to judo itself, I imagine the same shorter, sharper work with longer rest principle applies to what you do on the mat during tapering.
Precisely. That core principle applies directly to your judo exercises on the mat, too. A really common mistake you see is athletes doing these long, grueling randori sessions, free sparring right up until the competition. That completely defeats the purpose of tapering. It just leaves them fatigued and flat on fight day.
Okay, so instead of those long grinds, what are some effective judo-specific exercises for tapering? What should that look like?
Think short, intense bursts, followed by plenty of recovery. For example, maybe 45 seconds of really intense grip fighting, that constant battle for hand position and dominance, followed by maybe 90 seconds completely off. Even randori can work, but it needs structure. Maybe 1 minute of intense competition pace work, followed by a full 2 to 5 minutes of rest.
Much longer rest than work.
Much longer rest. Speed uchikomi, those rapid repetitions throw entries fits too. Even specific power exercises or crash mat throws for developing explosive power, all these fit the short, sharp model. And crucially, the overall length of the training session itself should also be reduced during tapering, often down to just 60 or maybe 90 minutes total.
Right. Less volume overall. Okay, that covers the meticulous physical prep. But what happens when all that training gets tested? When you step onto the mat for your second, third, maybe fourth fight, already carrying some fatigue? This is where a really fascinating study on athlete pacing sheds some light, isn't it?
Yes, this study set up a really compelling scenario. They took 12 experienced judo athletes and had them perform standard 4-minute matches, but under 3 different conditions. First, just after a normal warm-up. That was the control, the baseline.
Okay.
Second, after a typical full 90-minute judo training session to simulate that sort of accumulated fatigue you'd get during a tournament day. And third, after a really demanding high-intensity interval uchikomi exercise designed to push them into a state of acute fatigue, like right after a really hard match. And the researchers meticulously measured everything: heart rate, blood lactate, how the athletes felt, and how they actually moved during the subsequent 4-minute match.
And the results were, well, quite surprising, weren't they? The different conditions did cause clear physiological differences before and after those test matches. Things like heart rate, blood lactate levels, how recovered they felt, those were definitely different depending on how fatigued they were going in. But here's the real kicker. Despite these very real, measurable differences in fatigue, there was basically no change in the athlete's own rating of perceived exertion, their RPE. Meaning they felt like they were working just as hard in the match, regardless of their starting fatigue level.
Exactly.
And even more surprisingly, there were only very few changes in their core technical actions. Things like how often they attacked, or how long their attacks lasted, or feints, or groundwork exchanges. Those key variables stayed remarkably stable. How on earth did they manage that? If they were more fatigued, how did they keep the important stuff the same?
Well, what's truly compelling here is how they seem to preserve those crucial high-intensity actions. The athletes made subtle, almost subconscious adjustments elsewhere. They slightly decreased the time they spent actively fighting for grips, that constant hand-fighting battle, and they increased their movement around the mat without physical contact. Essentially, they found ways to conserve little bits of energy in the less critical moments without sacrificing the key fight-winning elements like attacks and dominant grips when they needed them.
Wow. So that suggests a really remarkable ability to self-regulate almost unconsciously. Athletes were able to preserve their core pacing, keep up their number of attacks and feints by subtly adapting their effort elsewhere, probably based on, the score, the time left.
Exactly.
It's like this profound mental skill, an almost subconscious internal governor that allows elite athletes to strategically hide their fatigue in a way. They maintain their critical output when it matters most, even if it means being a bit more economical in the moments between the big actions.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And the practical implications for coaches from this study are pretty clear, too. Simulating matches in training, like that control condition, is excellent. It really activates the glycolytic energy system, which closely mirrors what happens in actual competition.
Right.
And doing things like that high-intensity interval uchikomi can effectively prepare athletes to perform well, even when they're facing acidosis, that buildup of lactic acid that makes your muscles burn and feel heavy. It trains them to push through it.
Okay. Building on that incredible ability to self-regulate, our final deep dive looks at how athletes manage their energy and make decisions across the entire span of a major judo championship. From the early elimination rounds all the way through to the finals.
Yeah.
Does the strategy change?
Yes, this was another huge study. They analyzed over 53,000 sequential actions from hundreds of matches, comparing Olympic Games bouts to other high-level but non-Olympic international tournaments. They broke down the fights into those distinct phases again. The initial approach, the gripping battle, the attack phase, any groundwork, and the pauses between action.
And it revealed some really key differences, especially at the Olympic level. In the Olympic Games fights, there was a noticeable increase in just the overall combat intensity and also the frequency of attacks, specifically in the final bouts. especially the semifinals. Things really ramped up.
That's right. And zooming out a bit, the Olympic athletes also showed a significantly longer approach time before engaging, particularly in those high-stakes semifinals.
Longer approach time, what does that suggest?
It suggests a more strategic, perhaps more patient approach, a longer waiting time maybe to assess, to set up, to execute specific planned tactics rather than just rushing in immediately.
Okay.
They also took significantly longer pauses between exchanges in the Olympic semifinals. Likely for recovery, yes, but maybe also to receive crucial feedback from their coach. It just underscores the higher stakes and the intensity at that level.
Interesting. And there was another intriguing pattern regarding attack frequency, wasn't there? Attack rates were actually higher in the Olympic third-place playoff, the bronze medal match, and also in the repechage matches.
Yeah, those grueling second-chance rounds.
Compared to similar rounds in non-Olympic events.
Yeah.
It's almost like athletes in those do-or-die, medal-on-the-line situations feel they have nothing left to lose, so they just go absolutely all out. More attacks, higher risk, maybe?
It certainly seems that way. But what's truly fascinating here, perhaps the core insight from this study, is that while the duration of actions and the frequency of attacks differed quite significantly between Olympic and non-Olympic bouts, especially in those later rounds, the actual decision-making, meaning the probability of transitioning from one combat state to another, like from glipping to attacking or attacking to groundwork, was remarkably similar among all these high-level athletes.
So they make similar choices under pressure.
It implies that elite judokas, regardless of the stage, tend to make similar tactical choices in the moment. But their execution of those choices, the intensity, the frequency, the pacing that adapts dramatically to the competitive context, the pressure, and the stage of the tournament.
That's a subtle but really important distinction. Same fundamental decisions, different execution based on the stakes. And it's probably worth noting, too, the International Judo Federation recently reduced the contest duration down to 4 minutes.
Yes.
Primarily to encourage more attacks and prioritize getting the opponent that decisive full-point throw. That rule change will undoubtedly influence future pacing strategies even more, pushing for higher intensity throughout that shorter match time.
Absolutely. And the key question this research really poses for coaches and athletes is clear. Training strategies probably need to be tailored to the specific championship phase you're preparing for. For instance, for athletes aiming just to qualify for the Olympics, the focus needs to be on consistently performing at that general high intensity seen across non-Olympic events.
All right.
But for those already qualified and aiming for a medal, a more progressive strategy seems key. They need to anticipate and train for that significant increase in intensity and strategic pausing that happens in the final phases of an Olympic tournament. You have to be ready for that step up.
So tying this all together, what does this deep dive mean for you, the listener? Whether you're an athlete yourself, maybe a coach, or honestly, just someone navigating any kind of high-pressure situation in life, this exploration really shows us the incredible adaptability of the human body and mind when under duress.
Yeah, I think we've seen how precise physiological conditioning, like using HIIT effectively, combined with smart tapering strategies, and then layered with this deep, almost intuitive understanding of pacing and self-regulation. That's what allows these elite judokas to perform at their absolute peak, even when they're significantly fatigued. It really underscores that it's not just about raw power or fitness. It's about strategic energy deployment and, frankly, profound mental toughness.
Absolutely. From the rhythmic grind of that rowing machine in training all the way to the intricate strategic dance of an Olympic final. Every moment in high-level judo seems to be a testament to calculated effort, intelligent recovery, and constant adaptation. It's a truly captivating intersection of physiology and strategy. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If these elite athletes can maintain their critical output and even their perceived effort level by making subtle, almost unconscious adjustments to their less critical actions when fatigued, how might you apply that same principle of self-regulation, energy conservation, and strategic adaptation in your own high-stakes environments, whatever they may be?
Next time on the Judo Science Podcast, episode 15, Astonishing Judo, First Contact Tactics and the Biomechanics of Surprise.